So you get to see time and time again people getting away with committing criminal acts against me just by calling me mentally ill. And when you want to ask me questions, even if it's a question of disbelief, this is how people who don't care, but they want to be social. They will feign giving a shit to some degree. Or, oh, that is such a horrible thing. Yeah, well, if you really think it's such a horrible thing, why are you letting it happen? Letting it happen. Why are you not taking the situation seriously? Why did you not take it seriously to begin with? Why did you drag your feet over and over and over again and make excuses over and over and over again and not follow instructions? If Roy had followed my instructions with my computer, we could have gone through the computer together while I was in jail over the phone. I don't care if they record every goddamn thing that I say. I only care if they use it out of context. When people don't want to do something, they'll intentionally try to twist your words into something that you didn't say or intentionally ignore the context. They don't give a fuck what the truth is. They're not going to look at it. They don't care. That is an abusive environment. I'm going to the people that I'm told to go to. The thing is, if you're going to tell me anything at all that you're not telling the police, you're lying to me. Straight up. That is literally how it is. We have to do this according to the law. Okay? The problem is that everybody is a pocketbook lawyer, but the instructions that I'm supposed to follow are the legal instructions that I'm supposed to follow. They're supposed to be instructions that keep me safe. The number one thing on there is a friend or family member. The instructions that are on there for a friend or family member to follow. I don't have a friend or family member that's going to do that. In 10 years, I haven't found one person who gives a shit to follow the fucking instructions. They all know better than the fucking retard who's trying to follow the instructions. You go in with me for my safety so that it is taken seriously. So that people don't intentionally twist and manipulate shit into something that it ain't. I have to make these calls alone. It's a fact. If you know that the abuse is real, you know that the assaults are real, you saw what happened to the car, you got to hear threats against my life from these people with your own 2 ears, and yet still you are going to let me be treated like I'm schizophrenic and delusional, despite the fact that you know I'm telling the truth. I'm having to depend on disabled people, and that's something I'm supposed to turn in because disabled people are not responsible. They're not responsible. That's not to be rude. It's to say that depending on people, especially people with mental disabilities, these people can have the best intentions in the world, but their disabilities prevent them from helping. Most of the time, the issue is that it prevents them from hearing it. Many times, these disabled people who are, well, to be honest, we're shunned by your society. You know, you talk about how horrible it is when people abuse the disabled. And then when a disabled person is abused, you don't give a shit. When it's a disabled person that you personally know, you don't give a shit. The problem with going to disabled people is that they might throw it in your face and be assholes because they have disabilities. This is all stuff that people tell me that they should be telling the police. This is stuff I already know. This is stuff that I'm supposed to turn in as a disabled person. So you're not telling me anything that I'm not already aware of. But then when it comes to following the instructions, they're not going to do that. They're also not going to try to understand why I can't function. Because while they feel bad for themselves and feel sorry for themselves in their social isolation, they all still have a better social life than me. They have immediate friends and family that will stick up for each other, even if it's probably not the right thing to do. Sometimes people make mistakes and they need to fess up to the fact that those mistakes result in the harm of others. When you know that somebody is being harmed and you don't come forward, no matter what your excuse is, even if that excuse is that you are disabled as well, the fact is you are still a witness and that person is still being harmed. With Roy Wilson, I would love to have kept his name private and done this the right way with Roy, but Roy's not going to do it. Like, even asking him is going to result in things that he knows those things are hurtful. There is nobody who would not be able to tell that those things are hurtful. When somebody is telling you something important, an important detail, they're telling you that for a reason. When they're asking you for help and they're trying to explain to you the reality of their situation and you want to argue with them, that's not help. That's destroying their trust. Right now, I've got a very, very big issue. I am in Roy's backyard, so I'm in a subservient situation. This backyard does keep me safe from the abuse from people in the community. It also keeps me socially isolated. And the Eeyore voice and the, oh, when I ask for something that will actually help, the instructions that I have, I have to turn in a history of abuse by police to the police who have already abused me for trying to turn in a history of abuse by those police. And I'm told that I have to go back and turn these police into themselves again. What I need is somebody to understand that I literally can't go through all of this evidence. I can't. It's not fucking possible. I can't go through and dig through all of this evidence to show somebody who's not going to show up and not going to look. I can't function because I can't get actual help from somebody to take it seriously enough to actually speak up about how wrong these things are. Don't tell me how wrong it is. Tell the cops how wrong it is. Tell the media how wrong it is. Otherwise, you're lying to me. You're bullshitting me. When you are selectively omitting shit, that's not what a friend would do. That's not helping to turn it in. You'll only turn it in if we hide the mistakes that you made, or if you can blame those mistakes on me. No, 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 no. You don't get to blame your assumptions on me. You made those assumptions before finding out what was going on. I am doing my best to accommodate other people's disabilities and understand their disabilities, but at the same time, this is the stuff I'm supposed to turn in, and my disabilities aren't being accommodated. These people aren't trying to make a very simple connection between these people terrorizing me and me not being able to fucking function. Between the Wolnez situation that still has not been resolved, the abuse from the police situation, which still has not been resolved, the repeated assaults. I have to be afraid to go to these people because they have retaliated against me for trying to turn them in. Being in this backyard also makes me unsafe. It makes me unsafe because I don't have anyone here who is going to turn it in right away. Now, finally, yesterday, Tony tried making some of those calls with me, and I'm glad that he did. He got to hear them blowing me off. They blow me off so much nicer when somebody else is there, but at least we have it recorded that we tried to turn it in and that we were blown off. The thing is that the police in this town have repeatedly abused their position of power. They refused to do their jobs. And then when I had to try to turn in predators again and again and again, they wanted to pretend that these were schizophrenic delusions. I am afraid of the police. I am afraid to talk to them alone. There is a fucking reason for that. They can make up whatever they want. That's why you need a friend or family member. And they have to look at the evidence. They have to know you're telling the truth, not blow you off because they don't want to hear your story by saying, "Oh, I believe you." What do you believe? You've interrupted me repeatedly over and over and over again, giving me every sign that you don't actually care. You just don't want to hear the story. You just don't want to hear the story. It doesn't matter to you. I'm sure a lot of people listening to me dropping all of it on them at once is probably pretty fucking overwhelming. I want you to imagine that I have to turn in all of it at once. These people worked together to gaslight me, to deny me my rights as a human being, to deny me my rights as a disabled person, to rip me off for my disability money, to assist people in getting away with committing felonies. Now, if these people would listen to understand, they wouldn't have to keep on telling me they don't understand. If they'd stop interrupting and saying things that are dismissive, then I wouldn't have such problems communicating. If they wouldn't go out of their way to treat me completely like shit when it's time to actually keep their word, go out of their way to make whatever excuse. You know what? If Claire Jordan's daughter is going through that and the shit that she has said is true, then of course that needs to be turned in. But the difference is, I've tried to turn that in. I've made the effort. I have recorded the effort. I didn't fucking lie about it. I didn't fucking dismiss it. I didn't pretend that it didn't happen just because I was a lazy piece of shit who didn't actually care. Your actions show whether or not you care. No matter how much money you throw at a situation that you were a witness to, trying to tell yourself that, well, it's okay that you never came forward to tell the truth. It's okay that you let this person be harmed over and over and over again. It's okay that you used your disabilities as an excuse and expected them to understand. It's okay that you made zero effort to understand their disabilities. You just wanted to talk about yourself. I understand many of these people are alone or they're lonely, or some of the people that are in their immediate vicinity that they have to talk to are not the nicest people, but they don't have the greatest selection of friends, oftentimes because of their disabilities. Because of their disabilities and the way that they're treated, a lot of them develop some character traits and quirks that weird you out. Well, you were weirded out by them before they had those weird character traits. So don't bullshit me on that. A lot of my gay friends that I went to for help wanted to downplay the abuse that I was going through and tell me that gay people have to go through that all the time and I have no right to bitch, whine, moan, and complain because gay people have to. You know what? These people pretend that I'm gay is an excuse to fucking harm me. You have any idea how many gay people think that they were beaten up for being gay when in reality it was just somebody who didn't know that they were gay? They just know that if you call somebody a homosexual in that general vicinity, well, most people don't like homosexuals, so they'll let you. They're just trying to insult you. Now, the thing is that that doesn't mean that the majority of the time that a homosexual is targeted, that it's not because of their homosexuality. But if they're homeless, that's not why they're being targeted. It just happens to be another thing that people can pick on them about. You know, you get bigots of every sort out on the street. You want people to care about you, but you don't care about others. You get angry because people don't care about your particular this or that you think everybody should care about, but you don't care about everything with them either, do you? I'm not trying to get people to get interested in some scientific study about how the world is really flat. Well, rather, slightly concave like a mirror. I don't believe that the world is flat or slightly concave with a mirror, like a mirror. I mean, sure, I'm sure there's places on the earth where parts of it are flat. You know, the top of a good table is flat. That's part of the earth if you carve it out of stone. But we got people who want to do that. They want to do the little nitpicking thing. Like we're talking about my situation, and I'm trying to start off with the whole synopsis form, I believe is what it's called. You start off by telling them what happened, even if you have to blurt it out. Like a 9-year-old girl blurting out, I was just raped. Are you going to downplay the rape? Well, you'll downplay any type of abuse that happens to a male. You want to justify ignoring abuse against a male because they're not a female. You want to ignore and justify abuse against vulnerable adults because they're not children and they're not female. So I'm being discriminated against because of my age. I'm being discriminated against because of my disabilities. And instead of having somebody to help me to turn it in, I have to listen to people's opinions. This is the problem with Americans. Everybody's got an opinion, nobody's educated. You send an idiot to college, you get an educated idiot. Now, what are they educated in? In the real world? No. No. College is not the real world. Your parents' house is not the real world. You know what the biggest issue with veterans coming back from war is? How young they joined up. They joined up while they were young, What they believed about America was really just their school and their parents' house. So they're fighting for America, and the thing of America they believe exists. Well, your parents are going to shelter you from quite a bit. Your parents' rules are not the same as the real world. Your parents shelter you in many ways, not just with that roof over your head. Many of these veterans, they come back from being in the military. They hit the real world and they have no idea what the fuck to do. I try to stress to people the importance of getting involved. Don't feign that you care. If you care enough to send $4,000, you can care enough to follow instructions. I gave Roy instructions. The letters that I sent him were instructions so that he wouldn't fuck things up the way that he did. I understand he didn't fuck them up intentionally, but I also understand how stressful it is. That all I needed was somebody to look at that evidence and fucking turn it in. I needed somebody to look at that evidence and turn it in with me before I got arrested. But people tend to blow me off. I'm not important. By the time they realize it is a major issue, it's a situation where they're also a witness, and that's pretty important as well. When you're a witness to abuse against a vulnerable adult, most states have laws requiring you to come forward about it. Why didn't these people? Especially the police. Why didn't they try to investigate? Why did they send me to links that don't work? I tried again today to send something to them. Again, a link that doesn't work. If you're disabled and you're going to use your disabilities as an excuse not to tell the truth, I got to go with the you're a liar. That's what I got to go with. I can't believe you. I can't believe you when you say that something is wrong, when you have a perfect opportunity right now to help put a stop to exactly those things, and you're not. You're talking conceptually. I'm right here in reality. My evidence is sort of safe in this backyard as long as I don't piss off Roy. But also, it's at the point where I've been here over a year. He was witness to a lot of stuff. These are all things that I need to turn in, and I can't turn them in alone. I will get talked in circles. The fact that so many people were involved is pretty important. The fact that he can't remember a whole bunch of the stuff is also pretty important. It's not my fault if he can't remember. It's also not my fault that he didn't follow instructions. It's not my fault that he can't find the letters that I sent him about that. Those are all things that are not my fault. Him giving non-committal answers is not my fault. Now there's stuff recently that he's tried to do. We're doing it his way. He wanted to contact this guy. Well, that's fine. I wanted to contact this feller as well about it, but Mike Haynes hasn't come through. And that's not to say that I didn't miss an opportunity with that too when other things ended up happening. Like not being able to get a hold of him. I'm tired of people telling me that they're going to help me to do something when we set up a time and date to do it. And the whole purpose of them being there is so the police can't entrap me and lie about situations intentionally. Your whole purpose in being there is to be an observer. But the problem is that you don't want to. I understand that you don't want to, but the least you can do is acknowledge that you can stop the bullshit about these people treating me like I'm schizophrenic and delusional by helping me, by telling the truth about what you know and what you've seen. The things that Roy claims that he did, I have no problems believing that he did that, but he's not come forward with me to tell anybody he did those things. You'll only help if it means that you don't actually do anything to stop the abuse. I'm still having to hide in his backyard because I still have to worry about those predators. Between having Tony walk me every time that I need to go to the store and just sitting in the tent, there are times that I'm afraid to ask. It's a temporary solution that eventually will get boring or it'll become routine, which is fine. But it's also, he has to be awake and he has to be there. So, because of the abuse, I basically have to wait on other people's schedules to be able to do something even for myself. And I know that it's a burden on these people. The problem is that they're not understanding that that temporary solution is going to become permanent if they don't help me to turn this stuff in. That temporary solution, in lieu of turning in what you know, well, eventually it's going to become a long term solution because nothing's going to be resolved because nobody took the situation seriously. I asked Roy, the A&E thing. I haven't actually been able to watch the whole thing. I can't. It's hard to go through all this evidence and do what everybody's asking me to do while I'm petrified to the point that I can't function. Most of it is because I know that I don't have somebody who's going to take it serious right away. Now, Tony did take it serious right away once I told him what happened. Um, he did later say he was kind of hoping to get started at 8. I'm pretty sure he understands why these things scare me now. When I say that Roy is not an evil person, it's because he's not. Roy doesn't want to hurt anybody. He's not interested in hurting anybody. When he says stuff like that, it's stuff that people say because it's what they think they're supposed to. But it doesn't help. It prevents the victim from telling their story. When it comes to having an idea, it's great to have an idea, and I'm fine with going along with your ideas, but we still need to follow the instructions for turning this in. And that's the thing that Tony has agreed to. There's also the stuff that he wants to do that, just like the stuff with Roy, the stuff that he wants to do as well. Those are all good ideas, but they cannot be in lieu of turning in the abuse to where it needs to go. The unfortunate thing is that Tillamook Police Department Nearly all of their deputies, or all of their police officers, and nearly all of the deputies at Tillamook County Sheriff's Department were all involved in the situation of trying to paint me as schizophrenic because I tried to turn in officers and deputies. They took part in the bullying, the harassment, the intimidation. They sent me to broken links and gave me this axiom thing that they wouldn't show me how to use, and you only get to try to use it once. The thing is, no matter how much evidence I show people that I'm telling the truth, the story is just too much. And eventually they start making comments of disbelief. And of course, at that point, I should just stop the story and go find the evidence, and I usually do, even if it takes 3 or 4 days. If you're going to treat me like I'm a liar, I'll go dig up the evidence that shows that I'm not. Let's see you do that. You can't, because you didn't follow simple instructions. When I was in the jail, I didn't have an advocate. The ideas Roy had, like the idea for the power of attorney, that's a great idea, and it shouldn't have taken very long. The people at the jail refused to do the notary thing on it because he wrote something in there about getting paid in uh, soda pop and snacks. That's not my fault. It also, even though it would have taken him 5 minutes to download it off the internet, it's a quick PDF. He wanted to type it out, and this is something that he wanted to talk about with his excited voice. It's the opposite of the Eeyore voice. It's difficult to explain. The thing is, I tried to keep Roy's name safe, and I hoped Roy would help me to turn in this evidence instead of me having to post it up on the internet. The whole point of going to a friend or family member is so that we don't have to post up everything on the internet. So that, when you want to tell me about your illnesses in lieu of listening, I'm not posting up a bunch of your medical stuff when I have to post it on the internet. Because the fact is, if you don't come forward with the fact that I came to you for help, that I did make the effort, then I continue to get treated like I didn't make the effort, like it's my fault, like I'm making it up. So I end up posting up recordings of these situations on YouTube, situations that I've spoken about time and time again, and tried to keep people's names safe, but still telling the truth about the situation. Let's talk about the Scudders. So Jason Scudder was one of the witnesses. Him and Dallas Palmer were both witnesses to the Molly situation. They were, well, the one of many thing. There was a lot of witnesses there. But the thing is that the cops didn't go talk to those witnesses. That particular situation, Officer Timothy Sadler was the officer who showed up. It was the sixth or seventh incident with Molly, if not more. And every time I was being treated like shit by the cops, being talked in circles. They'd refuse to look at my vehicle. They'd refuse to look at all the broken glass. They'd refuse to talk to any of the people that saw it happen. Dallas Palmer's mom saw it happen. So it's not like there's no witnesses. There's plenty of witnesses. Roy is a witness to a lot of different situations that I tried to turn in. But I have to be afraid that I'll be arrested if I try to turn in a crime. And I've tried to explain that. Why don't you turn it into the police? I tried. I got arrested. They talked to me in circles over and over and over again. So I had to call the cops, I want to say about maybe 30 times over the violations of the protection order by myself, even though there was lots of witnesses. I understand the rules on the streets. I also understand the rules in the houses. If you live in a house, the rule is if you see something, say something. If you live on the streets, the rule is snitches get stitches. The thing is that I tried to tell the truth about the situation, but I'm stuck with the snitches get stitches crowd. I'm forced into the snitches get stitches crowd. I'm forced into the homeless crowd, and then you just assign me the same bias and assumptions that you have about every other homeless. They're schizophrenic and delusional and probably on drugs. When somebody has just been assaulted, they may be having a trauma reaction. That doesn't mean that it's okay to victimize them. When a victim of crimes, violent crimes, isn't willing to harm people, he's got to find other avenues and other routes. I already know that if somebody harms me, they'll get away with it by calling me mentally ill. If they physically assault me, they'll get away with it by calling me mentally ill. I also know that I'm forced to depend on a lot of quote unquote mentally ill people, and their mental illnesses are supposed to be protected. However, if somebody is being harmed and their mental illnesses are preventing them from turning it in, or are being used as an excuse to prevent a victim from turning stuff in. I mean, these are all things that you have to either shit or get off the pot. You either have to call up and say, yeah, this stuff is real, but my mental problems prevent me from being able to do it. Or you need to come forward about what you know. You're a witness to multiple situations. You're a witness to the damage to my car. You're a witness to the fact that those evidence videos do exist. I didn't show those to you for no reason. I showed them to you because the cops pretended each and every one of those things are delusions. But we don't really get around to looking at what the cops did, do we? We never get that far, do we? Because, of course, when we're talking to all these different agencies, they don't care what the cops did. They say, oh, well, what was the original crime? Well, I'm trying to turn that in too. But the thing is that the safety issues are with not having somebody who is going to do it the way that it is required by law. When a disabled person is being abused, they need a friend or family member to turn it in with them for their safety so that they're not taken advantage of, so that they're not talked over, so that they're not antagonized, bullied, and lied to. Those things are a lot easier for a police officer to do if you're alone. The thing is that if they're calling somebody mentally ill, they're using it to discredit that person and that person's words and evidence. The police want to pretend that the evidence doesn't actually exist. The police here worked together with TFCC to prevent me from having access to any of the things that I am supposed to as a disabled victim. They just talked in circles. Now, after making a few phone calls, people realize I'm getting talked in circles, and so are they. But then, of course, those people also don't become informed before making the calls. I try to get them to, since they're not willing to make the time to look at this stuff before turning it in with me and actually speaking up. That's the thing. They do have to speak up. The difference between me being treated like I'm schizophrenic and delusional and me getting taken seriously is whether you speak up. As an advocate, you should be able to understand the situation well enough to be able to speak for the victim. The problem is that I had a lot of people who wanted to speak for me that didn't know what the hell was going on. They hadn't bothered to hear me, they just bothered to make assumptions. And even if they did try relaying a message, it wasn't the message I sent. When I say I need a safe environment, I don't get to explain what that actually means. I need some peace and quiet and enough room to sit down and write all this down. But it does need to be a safe environment. If I have to continually look over my shoulder because of my predators, because nobody turned it in immediately, they forced me to go to the cops and get talked in circles. And because the police talked to me in circles, people like Andrew Wolnez got away with assaulting me not once, twice, not 3 times or 4 times, not 5 or 6 or 7 or even 8. No, he assaulted me on 9 separate occasions. He vandalized my vehicle on 30 separate occasions. There's also a whole bunch of vandalism that happened to my car that I don't know who did it. It doesn't matter. That was a Timothy Sadler thing again, obviously, since he didn't do his job with Molly and she was allowed to vandalize my vehicle. And multiple people in this town have vandalized my vehicle, and I get treated like it's my fault. I deserve it. It's okay to vandalize somebody's vehicle, and it's okay to assault somebody. That's illegal. They want to pawn me off onto TFCC and say that TFCC is supposed to help. Well, they fucking didn't. They didn't because I had to go in alone, and those people knew they didn't have to do their jobs. When Roy asks me questions like, have you turned that in? I've tried. You guys get to see how easy it is to send an email. Yes, I can send a fucking email. You also get to hear in the recordings themselves. You get to hear that lady who, for 10 years, fucking trying to get that goddamn evidence to her. Megan Messigatis was instructed to send that to Sergeant Jones, and she didn't. Instead, she pawned it off on Amanda DeMette, which she was told not to. That was evidence of abuse in the state of Nebraska. A whole shit ton of evidence of abuse. Also, a whole shit ton of efforts to try to get help. When people don't want to help, they'll do the same things that the cops do. They'll talk you in circles. This tent in this backyard is the only thing preventing me from being harmed by Andrew Wolnez or by the police or by any number of other people that they were able to convince that I'm a child molester, a murderer, a rapist, that I'm out to get their children. People are harming me over this. It's either hide in this tent, trying to find somebody to actually give a shit that this is happening, trying to get somebody who isn't going to make excuses why their eyewitness testimony doesn't matter. That's not help. That's the opposite of help. Or how about Shannon Alvarado's? All these different people who are going to help me to turn in abuse had time and time and time again had the opportunity, and they didn't fight very fucking hard. I had to fight so hard to get those people to hopefully fucking listen, hopefully look at evidence, instead of talk me in circles and treat me like it's no big deal. Like it's no big fucking deal that people assault me whenever the fuck they want. Then there's this bear maze bullshit. If someone has threatened to kill you repeatedly, has swung a pipe at your head on more than one occasion, I don't care what you have in your hands, you defend yourself with it. Like when somebody comes up to you with a fucking pipe and starts swinging it at you, between spraying him in the face and going, it sprayed just enough for him to know that it fucking works. It wasn't in his face. It wasn't even in his direction. In the pictures of Mossum, you can see, if you've ever seen a picture of somebody who's been sprayed in the face with fucking bear spray, and then you look at Mossum, it's obvious he didn't get fucking sprayed in the face with bear spray. The fact that he was able to talk and scream and yell and threaten me some more, the fact that he was able to see where he was going, to cross the street, turn around, look at me, and fucking threaten me and raise his fucking pole again, and then turn around perfectly on the sidewalk. He could see what he was doing. He was also drunk. He also admitted that. He finally admitted that he was drunk. Here's how that happened. After I got out of jail for 15 months on false charges that the police used, specifically Timothy Sadler, over and over and over again. Timothy Sadler refused to do anything about the Molly situation, refused to look at any of the evidence, refused to talk to any of the fucking witnesses. Refused, fucking refused. One of those witnesses was Jason Scudder, who never came forward about it. He never came forward with me to turn it in, and I'm still taking abuse for the whole month while he's going hunting, and I'm supposed to understand he needs to feed his family. Well, yeah, I do understand that. You can't take an hour out of one of those fucking days to turn this shit in. It literally takes 24 hours a day for 2 whole weeks straight. And I don't get that. I've never been on a hunting trip like that, especially with a cell phone with me. I'm also not an avid hunter. I'm a hell of a shot, just I don't shoot at things, not living things. With Shannon Alvarado, she was a shitty person. She wasn't a shitty person all day, every day. She was a shitty person as soon as she started drinking, which was every night at 6 o'clock. The problem with that is that she said that she would help me as soon as her daughter went to bed. Well, her daughter goes to bed well after 6 o'clock in the evening. And Shannon Alvarado is already very well schnockered at that point, and she's just interested in rambling about herself and her fucking conspiracy theories. And screaming and yelling at her boyfriend every single night. It was one of two things. It's either he gets drunk with her and they fuck, or he doesn't get drunk with her, and instead of having sex together, she accuses him of cheating and screams and yells and all this other stuff at him. Yeah, she's not gonna find the time in all of that bullshit and drama to actually tell the truth or turn in any of the fucking evidence or any of the shit that she was aware of. It's not that there's no fucking witnesses, it's that none of the witnesses take it seriously. The reason that slander was allowed was because these witnesses didn't try very fucking hard to get heard. They also didn't follow the most simple instructions, which is together. If a police officer doesn't want to do his job, there's nothing stopping him from making up whatever the fuck he wants. And when you got to try to get their goddamn body cameras, that's another fucking rat's nest as well. Now, Amanda Balehash told me that the DA watched the video and was appalled, and that's why they dropped the charges. Well, why didn't you send me the fucking video? And why didn't you try to get the fucking body cameras? It's because none of my friends were helping me. None of my friends would come forward with what they knew. They all want to make excuses over and over again. I don't give a fuck what your excuse is. I'm being harmed because you're letting me get treated like a schizophrenic and delusional nut job. You know I'm telling the truth. If you cared about me, you would care that you can put a stop to this just by telling the fucking truth. It's not difficult to tell the truth. It is not complicated to tell the truth. Anything that you told me that you're not willing to tell the truth, to tell the cops or tell whatever agency that we're sent to, if you're going to tell me that, but you're not going to tell them that, you're a liar and a manipulator. Straight up. You tell me, oh, you can't go to the cops because they'll do this and they'll do that. And they'll do that. Yes, I know. I'm well aware. That's why you go in with a friend or family member to verify that this shit's real, to verify that people are threatening your life, to verify that your car is being kicked in, to verify that the police are going out of their way to pretend that all those things are delusions. These people don't stop to look at how these same exact crimes from law enforcement in other places who made the same fucked up mistakes is used to prevent me from having access to my rights today. You don't stop to understand how slander from these people is still harming me today, despite the fact that I have shown the evidence. I have had to fight tooth and nail to get people who claim that they care to look at evidence that shows that I'm telling the truth. Does that recording sound like Mossum's threatening my life? Yes, it does. Well, how about we turn it in? During that entire 15 months, Roy could have helped. If his disabilities prevented him from helping, then he needs to come forward with that with me. But the thing is, if you're going to tell me something that you're not going to tell these investigators, you're not going to tell these police, if you're going to tell me all of these stories about how bad it is, about how you can't trust the cops, how you so on and so forth, well, you know what? I have the same opinions about them from my personal experiences. I also recorded the experiences. I have so many people who tell me, yeah, everybody knows they're doing this, but fucking nobody's got any evidence. Lots of people have evidence. your eyewitness testimony, and your recording devices. Police officers are getting busted all over the United States because people have the ability to record the police officers when they're committing a felony. Well, when I have to talk to these people over the phone to turn them in, I can't show them the evidence over the phone now, can I? Which is why I need somebody to verify it. If nobody verifies it, they get to pretend that it's some schizophrenic delusion. Now, as wrong as you want to tell me that is, why aren't you telling anyone else how wrong that is? Why aren't you speaking out about how wrong that is instead of preaching to the peanut gallery, or rather, preaching at the victim? When you tell me, but you tell nobody else, I know from experience how that goes. I know from experience. I recorded Kayla Trujillo because she kept fucking lying to me. Then, when I posted her up, her real name, oh, she sure as shit didn't like that. She had every opportunity to come forward. Instead, she gave me bullshit and excuses. I had no safe place to go, and I still have no safe place to go. Roy Wilson is a witness to a lot of these situations. He's a witness to the fact that I tried to get help. When it comes to the investigators for the public pretenders, I wasn't there for any of that. All of the stuff that he told me, that's hearsay if I say it. If he says it, it's eyewitness testimony. Do you not understand the difference? If your disabilities make it so that you're too afraid of the police, then you need to speak up about your fear of the police, because the fact is, the instructions that I'm supposed to follow and that these different agencies get to pretend that I didn't make an effort if I don't follow those. They get to pretend that I made no effort to help myself. How the fuck am I supposed to help myself? I can't run away from these people. Now I no longer have a car. Roy Wilson knows quite a bit about the vehicle, quite a bit about the situation. There are lots of nice things that Roy Wilson has done for me. The problem is that he doesn't tell any of these other people's. He doesn't call it in and say, yes, this is what I have seen. He is telling the truth. When you are called mentally ill, you need someone to verify that you're telling the truth. That physical assault that you just endured is not a schizophrenic delusion. When you have to beg people for years to understand that simple concept, the term mentally ill is used to discredit victims. Yeah, sure, I've got evidence. I could have all the evidence in the world, but nobody's going to look at it. No matter how many times I type to these people, they're never going to look at it. Someone else needs to be actively involved, and we need to do it together, and we need to record it so there is proof, so there is evidence. Anything that you did not record did not happen. That's as simple as it is. If you did not follow the instructions on how to safely turn this in, you did not try to help turn it in. If you are not telling the parts that you are aware of, you're not trying to help turn it in. If you're making guttural sounds when somebody asks you to turn it in because you are a witness, that's not trying to help turn it in. having a bunch of ideas about a bunch of different places to send it to. Yeah, sure, we can send it to those places too. And he's right about sending it all in one bulk. But I've also been doing that. That's what I have been doing for the last year since I have been here, is trying to do those things. I work on it until I want to fucking blow my head off, and then I try to distract myself with video games. And then I work on it until I want to blow my fucking head off. Well, all right, I'm sorry. I got to take that back. The thought of having to even look at that evidence makes me want to blow my fucking head off. The thought of how many times I have gone through that to send it to people over and over and over again for them to blow me off makes me want to blow my head off. The number of things that people have expected me to do that I am incapable of because of my disabilities, and part of those disabilities include my predators. Yes, having people who go out of their way to fucking harass you and threaten you and drive you fucking nuts. Yes, that will drive you fucking nuts. That will prevent you from being able to function. When cops told me they couldn't do anything about this until I had gotten a hold of Natalie and asked her to stop. That's right. You gotta, when somebody is stalking you and pretending that you stalked them, the advice is to call them and tell them to stop. There's something pretty fucking screwy about that, ain't there? I'm being assaulted because somebody pretended that I stalked them, and instead of paying attention to the assaults or doing your job as an officer, you're going to tell me to call Natalie Bollinger? That I have to tell her to stop or they can't do anything? Are you fucking serious? An assault is only illegal if you tell them to stop? When I try to turn in assaults, they want to ask why people are assaulting me. And I tell them, and instead of taking it seriously about the assault, they want to treat me like I'm a liar because people have been harming me over Natalie Bollinger. They want to treat me like that's some sort of schizophrenic, delusional nut job bullshit. I told the truth. And the cops pretended it was a delusion because they didn't want to do their fucking jobs. When I tried to turn in those officers, they used TFCC and mental health to try to have me pegged as schizophrenic. And TFCC, because I have been illegally prevented from turning them in properly for the entire time I've been in Tillamook. They were able to abuse their position of power over and over and over again. This is why a friend or family member needs to be there and they need to be aware. I thought I'd be out of here by Christmas, but I also thought that Roy might actually help since he'd actually seen some of this stuff. He might actually take it seriously. I get tired of asking people for help when they treat me like I'm such a horrible burden for asking for something that I'm not able to do for myself. It's not like I'm asking them for help because I just don't want to. It's because I fucking can't. I can't drive myself to the grocery store in a non existent car. I can't drive my evidence to anywhere in my non existent car. I can't drive to appointments in my non existent car. I can't move elsewhere with my non existent car. Common sense. If I don't have it, it's of no use to me. Now, instead of looking at my paperwork from before the situation with Natalie versus after, so that you know that at least I'm telling the truth. So that you know at least those things exist. Whether what the doctors or whoever else said in there was honest or not is arbitrary. The fact that it exists, it's got my name on it, it's got the date on it, it shows what I went in for. Some of the stuff that therapists made up was just stupid. To insinuate that I never tried to go to the police about this abuse, when you know full well that I've been arrested for trying to turn in this abuse to police. When you have to turn in crimes to police officers who have committed crimes against you, they're not going to do their jobs for you. They will help the person who's harming you get away with it. They will slander you in court without a friend or family member there to make sure that the public pretender does their fucking job and is aware of the situation instead of blowing off the victim. They know that they don't have to do their jobs. Nobody who is a public defender has a conscience. Nobody with a human conscience would throw human lives away like that. Innocent people who are denied their right to turn in their predators because of perceived disabilities. Don't make the victim go in alone. Don't make the excuse that you're somewhere else. You can use a telephone, same as I fucking can. The fact is that being in this backyard is unsafe. It is unsafe because my predators know where I'm at. It's also unsafe because even though there are witnesses here, they didn't take turning it in immediately seriously. They also didn't take the fact that you have to be prepared for this ahead of time. You have to have a plan of action ahead of time, which means that you have to have an understanding of whose job it is. These people have all run me around in circles about whose job it is. So instead of asking me who you need to call, we need to call all of them, and you need to verify I told the truth. It would have just been one call at the beginning, a call to the police. That's how it would have been in the beginning. Then they tell me, oh no, you don't turn that into the police, you turn it into APS. I tried to turn it into APS. They say, no, you got to turn that into the police. No, I'm not disabled enough for APS to do their job, but I'm disabled enough that the police can refuse to do their job and send me to APS. God bless America. Then APS isn't actually Adult Protective Services. No, it's Tillamook Family Counseling Center and Northwest Senior and Disability Services, who run you around in circles, and then you have to try to turn them in. The point is that the abuse is very real, the evidence is very real, the neglect is very real. I only needed Roy to look at enough to understand what was going on. I sent that picture, that screenshot of people threatening to kill my niece. I sent that to him over 3 years ago. Over 3 years ago. I also sent it to Grace at Helping Hands over 3 years ago. It's not that nobody's aware that these threats are real. It's that none of them make any effort to turn it in with me to the police when they happen. None of them make any attempt to understand why I can't go to the police by myself. or why it is no longer legal to go to the police. Because they didn't help me to turn in the crimes that were committed by the police. The police get to continually impede justice and obstruct government operations. They get to repeatedly abuse me in specific, using their position of power to do so. I tried to turn in TFCC. The evidence that I tried to turn in TFCC still exists. The fact that they punished me for trying to turn them in, that evidence still exists. I'm telling people about evidence that if they take the time to look at it with me, we can look at it. I'm not asking their fucking opinion on this shit. I don't give a fuck about their opinion. Look at evidence. You know, with Roy, one of the things is after he watched the A&E thing, he said it was um, something to the effect of fair and balanced. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering exactly what words he said. But the fact is that he had literally never seen any of the evidence. He has no idea if it was fair or balanced because he wasn't there. A lot of the stuff that was used in that was absolutely wrong. It was intentionally sent that way for a reason. It was set up that way for a reason. And his opinions after watching that are not opinions based on somebody who knows exactly what the hell's going on from being there. And it's not from listening to my experience about that. I didn't get to tell my experience about those situations. The thing is, I needed him to verify that Natalie Bollinger was not a delusion and neither were the fucking assaults. That's not complicated. You know, over and over and over again, I wrote down on pieces of paper and sent letters, and people are just so slow about it. They don't take abuse seriously. They dig for excuses not to get involved. They don't fucking care. They don't actually care. No matter how much money you throw at the situation, it's your testimony that is required. Are you going to pretend I never went to you for help? Are you going to pretend that you never saw any of those videos? Here's the thing. If you don't turn it in, the police treat me like I'm a liar because I have to tell the truth about the situation. When you selectively go out of your way not to say anything and not to do anything proactive to turn in the parts that you know, well, that's why I get treated like I'm a liar. If I'm going to get treated like I'm a liar for telling the truth, then I'm going to treat you like a liar for not coming forward. When people want to tell me about how afraid of the police they are as their excuse for not coming forward, that's not my problem. You like hearing that? Not my problem. Not my problem. The reason that I have a YouTube channel is to speak up about the abuse and about how the police refusing to do their jobs and mental health refusing to do their jobs results in me being dependent on people with severe mental problems and drug addictions. I'm not asking these people to blindly believe me. I'm, matter of fact, telling them not to. Do not blindly believe me. You need to see the evidence so that you can speak plainly and honestly. When you see the videos of people harming me when I leave the property, you can very, very clearly see that these things are happening. You can say, when we go to turn in these assaults, you can say people are assaulting him. No, they are not physically assaulting me at this very moment. That does not mean that the crime was not fucking committed, or that it's not a crime, or that I can't turn it in. The question needs to be asked, why are there over 200 assaults recorded on my YouTube channel? Why are there hundreds of recordings with witnesses that verify that I'm telling the truth? Why is it that I'm not friends with those witnesses anymore? Well, we were never friends because they were witnesses who never came forward and never tried, made every excuse, wanted me to do everything but do what I am supposed to do according to those pieces of paper. The things that help to prevent me from getting taken advantage of by the police or by people who want to promise to help me, but they just need a little money first. My friends and family blew me off and didn't give a shit, so I had to pay them for help. I'm tired of people saying, oh, dude, you don't have to pay me. No, I do. I need you to take this as a job. I need you to not treat this as a special favor for a fucking retard where you're just fucking humoring me. When I say I need you to look at the fucking evidence, I will pay you 20 a fucking hour to look at the evidence. That doesn't mean that we have fucking happy sunshine hockey time. That means you do what you're being fucking paid for, which is shutting the fuck up and looking at evidence. I'm not paying you to tell me your fucking opinions before you've ever looked at anything. I'm not paying you to give me 10,000 different suggestions other than following the law as far as turning this shit in. See, a lot of people wanted to tell me, oh, I tried to turn it into the cops. They said I couldn't turn it something in for someone else. And I'd say, which cop? When did you do this? What department? Do you have a recording of it? Well, we're going to need your testimony. You need to verify that you tried to turn that shit in. Otherwise, you're a fucking liar. If you're going to tell me the people are threatening to kill your family because you were trying to help me, don't let me get treated like I'm schizophrenic by the police when I try to turn that in. The problem here is that nobody is starting a fucking abuse case. They didn't want to do their jobs, and now they don't want to get in trouble because they didn't do their job, so they're committing felonies. Jason Scudder was a witness to the Molly situation. After the whole hunting thing, there was finally one day that he was going to come and help me to turn it in. And I don't remember what the fuck happened, but something happened and I wasn't able to make it. And it sucked. But I tried to reschedule it. He never rescheduled after that. It just didn't matter that I was being harmed. It's in the past mentality. No, not being able to go to the police to turn in abuse is not an in the past thing. Why are the police refusing to do their jobs for disabled homeless people? Why are they using pedophiles and rapists to fuck with disabled people? Why are they sending victims to mental health instead of investigating, instead of collecting evidence? See, all this stuff that I'm trying to get people to see is the evidence that the police refuse to acknowledge. If they acknowledge that those things exist, then they go to prison. These officers, knowing that I was telling the truth, intentionally lied to the courts, intentionally lied in court documents, intentionally lied to witnesses. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in this backyard. Nobody's going to speak up for me. People aren't angry that this happened to me. Like they're angry that some of these things happened to Sammy Leon Lawrence IV. He was assaulted by cops once, and there was a terrible outcry and outrage. But you know what? I was assaulted by Waylon Lolatai before he was. I tried to turn in the fact that they wouldn't let me know Waylon Lolatai's name. I tried to turn in the way that they fucked with me when I got to the jail. I tried to tell Amanda Balehash that. She did not fucking care. And Kayla Trujillo didn't fucking give a shit either. She was a witness to a bunch of shit, but she kept her fucking yap shut instead of coming forward and being fucking honest right away. She was never honest. When she said that she would help me if I brought cigarettes, that she would help me if I brought food. Well, she didn't. She never even listened to what was going on. She was too busy trying to get me hooked up with a fucking dating site and playing video games and telling me what to do. When you try to explain that, hey, I am a vulnerable adult because I am easy for people to harm. I am easy for people to harm because all they have to do is call me mentally ill. I need a friend or family member to look at this shit and actually care. Look at what I've had to go through. Look at how hard I had to fucking try to get help, to get people to spend the time to listen instead of give unsolicited advice like I'm a fucking retard. This backyard here is the safest place that I have. But Andrew Wolnez has known that I've been here for almost the entire time I've been here. Roy Wilson was a part of the situation before I was arrested. He was one of the people that I was talking to about Mossum, and he always had a bunch of stories about Mossum. He's got all sorts of stories about Mossum. He told me a bunch of stories about Mossum, but he didn't come forward with those things about me, or come forward about those things with me. It was just a conversation. Me needing help because someone was harming me always gets reverted into, well, let's just have a conversation. So Candace was real fond of playing stupid the same way. She wanted to make a bunch of decisions with her mom and decided that that's what they were going to do. She didn't keep her word and she didn't do what needed to be done. She didn't bother to look at any of the evidence like she promised she would. And she also didn't come forward about any of that stuff that happened. None of it. You can't help me if you're trying to hide your name because you're a witness that I tried to get help. You're a witness that I did try to tell people what was going on. It's also unfortunate that you're a witness that you blew me off. I can't function to do these things because nobody will do anything about the abuse. So I am in a constant state of panic. And instead of understanding that, I'm talked in circles because people don't want to do anything. By the time somebody gets around to pretending that they're going to do something, my evidence is destroyed. Now, when I show you evidence, that's the stuff that you need to tell them is happening. When we make a phone call after you've seen a video of me being fucking assaulted, you need to tell them that I was fucking assaulted in the video. Now, where's the connection with the police? The police pretended that these were all delusions. The measures that it takes to protect a victim from this type of abuse are real fucking easy. But they're real fucking difficult when you're a procrastinator and an excuse maker. When you just don't want to do it. When you just don't care that the person's being harmed. You don't give a shit about the details, even if knowing those details and speaking up about them will stop the harm, stop the false arrests, stop the physical assaults. But you have to actually fucking care that they're happening. You don't show that you care that they're happening by going, oh, oh. You show that you care by listening, looking. That right there, that it's like it's impossible for people to understand the English language when you tell them straight up. Yeah, I am sure that there is more to it. But we're going to have to figure that out as we go along because I have been lied to for 10 fucking years. How am I supposed to follow the law when every officer changes the law? You say, they're not allowed to do that. Well, I don't care if they're allowed to or not. They did it. I'm aware that they're not supposed to. I'm aware in these cases that they're breaking the law, that they're committing felonies. Instead of telling me they're not allowed to do that, how about helping me to turn it in? The thing is that, yeah, sure, as a witness to A normal crime, you have the right to your Fifth Amendment. However, the victim has the right to the First Amendment. That includes speaking up, whatever the consequences. I would rather die than not speak up about abuse, right? Claire Jordan told me her daughter was being harmed, and I tried to turn it in. That's the right thing to do. I didn't make excuses of, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. Maybe we can talk about it or discuss it in 6 weeks. Oh, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I have my own shit going on. No, every call to Claire is going to be about her talking about herself. And if she doesn't get to talk about herself, she's going to throw a fucking tantrum. Which, of course, I literally have to throw a tantrum over the top of that to get heard. How dare you yell at me? Well, fuck, you're yelling at me. What do you expect? Roy was a witness to a lot of different situations. I did inform him of a whole bunch of stuff while I was locked up. He got to see a lot of evidence that he is more than capable of verifying does exist. I have nobody else to go to. He's not going to help me to turn it in. He's not going to take it seriously. That's not my fault. That's not my choice. If he'd have taken it seriously, I'd have been out of his fucking yard by Christmas. It took 6 goddamn months to find an actual civilian. See, this is the problem civilian oversight. The reason that these people over at TFCC, or sorry, at CARE, did not help is because they didn't follow through. They didn't check their emails. They didn't share any useful information with one another about the fact that I was being honest. If they'd have taken the phone calls seriously and followed through at their end, well, then I would have had my disability money back 6 months sooner. Instead, I had to beg drug addicts to make the fucking phone call with me. And I started off offering $100 to make the phone call. I will literally pay you $100 to make this call with me and help me follow the instructions that they give because I'm not good at this shit. Instead of telling me what to do, help me to do it. Instead of telling me to turn it into the fucking police, turn it into the police with me. Like the first thing you need to do is identify the problem. The problem is, if I go in alone, I am more vulnerable than if I went in with someone who knows what the fuck is going on. I can only ask nicely so much. We've gotten to hear from a lot of people on my channel who verified that I told the truth. But we don't have anybody helping to turn in the fact that those truths, what makes them important, is that they are the opposite of what police decided to pretend. They are the opposite. The police didn't try to find out what was going on. They just made up whatever the fuck they wanted. Ashley Astute, one of the state forensics evaluators, did exactly the same fucking thing. If she didn't know the answer, she just made it up. Like, let me give you one very good example. She claimed that I had never been to prison. I've been to two separate prisons, but I am not a convicted felon. But she didn't bother to ask anything about that. She just wrote down what she wanted. Now, of course, I believe very heavily in backing my shit up. When I said it wasn't my first rodeo, I wasn't kidding. This is what Mandy Hughes called the prison Bible. This is a bunch of inmate interview requests. This is for Lieutenant Kern. Let's see. Not that you will actually do something, you never do, but Hyatt is harassing me and retaliating again. On 3/31/2021, after dark but before shift change, he transported a towel from Jordan's cell. This is what's called a setup. This is a situation that you don't want to be a part of, but they did it anyway. Um, from Jordan's cell, C2-L11, to mine, C2-L15, knowing it had cough drops and envelopes in it. I found out from Zerfing it is passing and receiving when Jordan asked Zerfing to do the same, and Zerfing said he wouldn't pass and receive. I kept quiet out of fear of retaliation, but Hyatt is retaliating over TV, and Jordan wants the cough drops back. Like I said, it's a setup. I didn't want the cough drops or the towel. I also didn't want another inmate throwing a fucking tantrum about something that he wanted that I could not provide. Listening to Jordan yell for fucking 3 hours about how I own fucking cough drops. No, I fucking don't. Anyway, it says Jordan wants the cough drops back, sugar-free cherry, and I already ate them. The exchange is on camera. Masudi, Hyatt, and inmate Jordan have made my morning hell. Hyatt walked to my cell, laughed. I told him to leave me alone. He put his hand on his chest, said, "It hurts me right here." God bless America, right? Um, it hurts me right here. Then walked off, calling me pathetic 3 times and saying, "Better write that down, 0925, when I called for Kern. The reply I got was, "I will look into this situation." Kern. Well, she didn't look into the situation. Some of these are from mental health people. Some of these are about the situation. The point is suppression of evidence. That is the whole point of this. Suppressing the victim's right to turn in their predator. There's quite a few here. But I do want to point out that it's Nebraska Department of Correctional Services. Nebraska Department of Correctional Services. See? That's a prison. Lincoln Correction Center, and DEC, which is the Diagnostic and Evaluation Center. Every prison inmate that goes through Nebraska goes to the Diagnostic and Evaluation Center, and then they ship you out to whatever prison from there. These people use the fact that I'm afraid of things that are actually happening, things that people actually do. You can find people on the news every day that have gotten busted doing these things. That's why these people want the evidence out of court. That's why these officers lied. If another officer can go to prison for it because it's illegal, DaCosta can go to prison for it because it's illegal. Michelle Quinn can go to prison for it because it's illegal. Much of the issue with the abuse in the prisons and the jails is that those are vulnerable adults just because they are stuck with people with a position of power who are manipulators. They can do whatever they want and their coworkers will cover for them. Their word matters and yours doesn't. When they're abusive to other inmates, that's one of those situations where they say, oh, well, you can't turn something in for someone else. The fuck I can't. Abuse of vulnerable adults is a fucking felony. When you are abusing your position of power that way, that is a felony. When you are covering for your fellow officers, that is a felony. I can't function to do the shit that you want without a safe environment. It's not a safe environment if I can't turn in the crimes when they happen. It's not a safe environment if we're not going to focus on what is going to get me safe and keep me safe. What keeps me safe is a friend or family member who is informed, who turns it in with me right away. If you told me anything that you did not try turning in with me to the police, you are a liar. That is as simple as it is. The police said that I wasn't trying to get help and that nobody would help me. Well, they wouldn't help me how I needed, but they sure had plenty of shit to throw in my face that they did to help. Literally everything but looking at the evidence and turning it in with me. What the fuck did these people think I was sending the evidence to them for? It doesn't matter what they thought, because I did very specifically tell every one of these people I'm being harmed over slander. All of the things that I had that could have helped me to protect myself from this disappeared as soon as Natalie got her brains blown out. Not that I had any friends before that. I had remnants of friendships. I was their friend when I was fixing their porch. I was their friend when I was babysitting their fucking brats. I was their friend when I was buying them groceries. I was their friend when I was helping them move out of another abusive man's house. The moment I wasn't able to do those things anymore, I wasn't their friend anymore. It was a remnant of friendship. They would give me advice from time to time when they saw me bitching on fucking Facebook. Oh, Sean, you don't need to be so depressing all the time. You know, the reason nobody wants to talk to you is because you're always fucking complaining. You're always depressed. I'm fucking depressed for a reason, and you don't give a shit. You would rather be shitty to me for being depressed than find out why. You would rather volunteer to give me drugs or tell me that I should go have medications instead of listen to the fuck why. Did Pierre care that I had to risk another fucking assault to try to meet him at 9 o'clock in the morning when he didn't show up? Not just didn't show up, no call, no show, 3 days. That's not taking it seriously. See, you don't have the right to privacy. As soon as you were a witness to any of these situations, you lost the right to privacy. It is my right to tell the truth. It is my right to show evidence. It is my First Amendment right to speak up. You can go ahead and take the Fifth Amendment all you want. I got enough recordings. I can post up recordings of how shitty people have been and all the excuses that they've made to not understand the most simple things. Obviously, I don't hate Roy. Obviously, I don't hate Tony. Obviously, I don't hate Wonez. I really fucking hate what he's been doing. I really fucking hate that he won't stop. I really fucking hate that Roy won't take it seriously. I really fucking hate that I have to try to turn it in to the cops who have committed felonies against me. I really fucking hate that I'm being asked to do things that I can't do because I don't have the ability. I don't have the help doing those things. Instead of recognizing that I can't do those things and telling these people that I can't do those things, you treat me like shit because I can't do those things. Am I allowed to treat you like shit for your disabilities? When you go to your friends and they just want to talk about themselves, when they want to give you the oh in the Eeyore voice when it comes to doing something, but they get excited when they get to talk about themselves or some idea that they have, or yeah, you don't need to fucking have some idea. It's pretty easy to turn in fucking evidence if you have somebody else to do it with you, even over the phone. Because as soon as the investigation is started, they're supposed to get me and my evidence safe. And they're supposed to actually allow me to make a report. Repeatedly, when I went to the police to try to make a report, I needed them to take me somewhere where I could safely make a report. Forcing me to try to do this shit in public is immoral. Instead of listening to the circumstances and trying to understand, I'm too busy being judged by other people who don't think it's okay to judge them back. If you don't want to end up on the fucking YouTube, then be fucking honest. Tell the truth. Don't procrastinate. If you see something, say something. Because if you don't, I will. I don't care if it results in me being homeless. I don't care if it results in me being fucking dead. My predators are getting away with this because you don't care. Shannon Alvarado could have helped, but she didn't because she was too busy getting drunk and talking about her fucking conspiracy theories and fucking yelling at people. Then she wants to throw it in my face. She let me have a roof over my head. I don't give a fuck about the roof over my head. I'd have been fine with sleeping behind a dumpster. I needed a safe place for my evidence so that I could go through it. A safe place. I got there, it was not safe. It is not safe when you've got somebody who is so verbally abusive. But then when it comes to neglect and also, taking pop shots, that's verbal abuse as well. If you're going to tell me anything at all and then allow me to be treated like a liar when I repeat it because it's important to my case, well, yeah, your name, your phone number, your fucking address, every fucking thing that you ever told me will go up on the internet. Not out of disrespect, because it's the truth. I told the truth. Either you can verify that I told the truth, or I can post it on the internet. Obviously, you don't give a shit to come with me to turn this in. Obviously, you don't give a shit to understand because you're going to blow it off. I have to fear going out and getting assaulted by Andrew Wolnez or his son's friends or any other number of people who have been involved in this. I have to worry that one of those people that heard him streaming that shit in Safeway might recognize me from him streaming that shit in Safeway and get all fucking paranoid delusional and think that I'm out to get their fucking kids because I'm walking down the fucking street, asshole. My real life experience versus your opinions of what? What are your opinions based on? Are they based on my experience? Are they based on the actual evidence? No, they're not. They're based on what you're willing to listen to and what you're willing to believe and what you're willing to look at. A lot of people said, yeah, man, if you got evidence, fucking send it to me. And so I send them a video of me being assaulted, and they're like, fuck you, man, that's so fucked up. Why would you fucking send that to somebody? Unfriended. Well, that didn't last long. When I said that the term mentally ill is worse than calling somebody the N word, I had a lot of people who wanted to argue. No, no, you guys get to look. You get to see the assaults. You also get to see how, in my paperwork, the police want to continue pretending that they're schizophrenic and schizophrenic delusions. Telling me to do it myself. I am broke. I have no money. I'm disabled. I can't do these things for myself. I am dependent on others. You need to recognize that I am dependent on others and not volunteer for everything because you're not going to be able to do everything. My car being gone, that was a situation where Martinez and his coworkers chose to retaliate against me for trying to turn him in. They claimed I was calling 911 for no reason and not telling them about any fucking crimes. No, I did tell them about crimes. I told them that it was unsafe for me to go to the police because of the crimes that the police had fucking committed. I told them that I needed to be put in contact with a different agency because the local police would only threaten, harass, and intimidate me if I tried to turn in crimes. And that's exactly what they fucking did, too. Multiple times right across the street from here. I'm tired of having to tell people over and over again, yes, I have the evidence. There is too much to go through. I am overwhelmed with trying to get some help, actual help. Someone needs to look at the fucking evidence and then turn it in with me. And when we're blown off, we need to make record of that and turn that in too. I am a human being, god damn it. I'm being harmed because the witnesses never came forward with me. See, there's one opportunity to turn this in. One. As a homeless person, when you are victimized, you have one opportunity to turn it into the police and be listened to. And that one opportunity requires a person to be there so they don't blow you off. Because if something happens because they didn't do their job, they can make up whatever lie they want. And their victim has no recourse to protect themselves from that. If you care about somebody, you don't make excuses. You don't talk in circles. You listen to understand. When somebody asks you, please stop making suggestions until you know what's going on. Stop asking, have I called this place? Have I called that place? We're going to have to go through my goddamn evidence to find out what places I've called and which ones I haven't. But pretty goddamn guaranteed, whatever place that you've looked up, I've probably called them by myself. The point is, I don't need you to give me another fucking number and send me off to call this place by myself. I need you to make the call with me. You saw this shit with your own two eyes. You are a fucking witness that these are not delusions. What kind of a fucked up person do you have to be to not come forward about that? Disabled people, harming disabled people. Why the fuck send me to a disabled people for them to make excuses that they can't do anything because of their disabilities and make absolutely no attempt to understand mine? I'm not living your life. That's why you need to hear my details of my situation. The court doesn't give a fuck about the banana seat bike that you had in 1978. They just simply don't. And of course, these things may sound crazy, but these are things that people have repeatedly wanted to use in lieu of listening to understand. This is not a safe place. This is not a safe place. Shannon Alvarado's was not a safe place. These places are very, very different, and they're unsafe for some of the same reasons and also for some very different reasons. The same reasons is these folks don't try to turn in this shit with me or understand why it's important. They can't listen to me to understand. So, how the hell are they going to do anything to help me whatsoever? It is unsafe for me to be here. Giving me stuff doesn't change that fact. Changing your mind or changing your story doesn't change that fact. The thing is, if my story doesn't match what the cops said, then I'm treated like I'm a liar and I'm delusional and schizophrenic. So anybody who believes in equality deserves that same equality. If I'm going to get treated like a liar for telling the truth, you're going to get treated like a liar for not coming forward with it. If you're going to tell me that people are sending pictures of your son with a noose around his neck because you were trying to help me. This is a common theme with people who wanted to help me in the beginning. They wanted to argue with people on Facebook. That's what they wanted. My friends wanted to get a hold of me for the new juiciest meat that they could post in one of these Natalie Bollinger Facebook groups where they were all arguing. Yeah, God bless America, right? What they couldn't do is take the time to shut the fuck up and listen to me. Stop fucking arguing with idiots on Facebook. When I ask people to do something, they go out of their way to fucking play mentally fucking retarded. Like people are getting a hold of me saying, yeah, they're threatening to kill you in these Natalie Bollinger groups. They're organizing a lynch party in these Natalie Bollinger groups. Oh, here's a screenshot of Tim Beeson threatening to put you in the fucking ground. Are you going to help me turn it in, or are you going to let me get treated like I'm schizophrenic? Are you going to bring up the safety issues, or are you going to let me get treated like I'm a schizophrenic? Are you going to help me stop the abuse, or are you going to push me to blow my fucking head off? Are you going to help me to get a safe environment? Or are you going to push me to fucking hang myself? Are you going to listen to understand, or are you going to make me feel like I'm a fucking shitty person because I need help? I don't want your fucking help. I don't want to go, I don't want to hear, all the fucking time like I'm doing a bad thing for asking you to tell the truth, to come forward and tell the truth. Do it with me so that I have proof that it fucking happened. And then turn it in with me when they refuse to do their fucking jobs. If these people aren't able to help me because of their disabilities, they need to tell Adult Protective Services that. The problem with all these people is that every one of them could have done something very simple and very easy right away, but they didn't. They didn't follow the instructions that help keep the victim safe. These people want me to just blindly believe them due to our past friendships. No, we haven't been friends in years. That's the problem. I don't have any friends. I don't have any real friends. A real friend wouldn't fucking twiddle their thumbs and make excuses for this much time. They would make the fucking calls with you because they would care that you're being harmed. And I'm being harmed for telling the truth. It's the worst part. It's not my fault if you're too much of a coward to come forward and tell the truth. It's not my fault if you have whatever brain injuries prevent you from remembering anything. but that does put me at risk and it prevents you from being able to help me to turn in the abuse. That's the way that you're using it. You're using it as an excuse. It's kind of like Megan Misgatis wanted to use her supposed cancer as her excuse why she couldn't remember anything. Well, with all due respect, I'm having to depend on somebody who's got mental issues and can't remember nothing. When I spoke up about that, Megan Misgatis didn't like it. Well, she could have turned that in with me to the police or to adult fucking protective services, but no, she's a fucking fat bitch. She wanted to use the fact that she's a fat fucking slob as an excuse not to try. And that's the thing, is that these excuses are excuses not to even try. They haven't even tried before making excuses not to. I'm asking them to stop pawning me off on others and pawning me off on other places and actually look at what I have to deal with when I go alone. Stop forcing me to go to these places alone. I can't function because of how shittily I'm fucking treated when I try to get help. If you want to fucking second guess every goddamn thing that I say, then fine, we will sit down with my fucking evidence and I will show you every goddamn thing. We will go through every fucking email. We will go through every single screenshot and every single video. And at the end of 2.5 years of doing that, you'll realize why it is that it's not a fucking simple fix. Why that's not a fucking solution. Stop making solutions without taking a look. There's a reason there's guidelines for turning it in. There's a reason I am trying to follow those guidelines. If I could get one fucking friend to follow those, that would be great. I have to wait on the fucking witnesses to turn this shit in. And they will procrastinate and procrastinate. You have no idea how many witnesses to this shit wanted to procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate until I'm having a mental breakdown because we're right at the very end of the fucking line. They get to destroy all of that evidence because you've been fucking procrastinating and you have let them treat me like I'm a schizophrenic delusional nut job. And how can any of these people who want to use their disabilities as their excuses for their shitty fucking behaviors, how can they expect me to pretend that that's a valid excuse when they are making zero effort to do the same for my disabilities? They're making zero effort to understand. They're making zero effort to accommodate. And as always, it's only how they want to do it. And each one of these people has their own ideas. They're not looking at the evidence. They're not listening to what's already gone on and what's already transpired or why this shit is fucking important. The point here is to stop the abuse. That includes the neglect by police. That includes the rubber stamping. You're able to get away with this stupidity by not looking, by going out of your way to play stupid and play ignorant. I've had to stay in a bunch of dangerous places. What makes them dangerous is that the people that I've had to stay with are shitty fucking people. A good person would not let that continue. A good person would want to turn that in. A good person would want to put a stop to that. A good person would not make excuses not to make a single fucking effort. I have instructions. Common sense. People are less likely to be victimized when there is someone else with them. They are less likely to be raped when they are with someone else. They are less likely to be murdered when they are with someone else. They are more likely to be heard instead of blown off when there is somebody else there with them showing that they give a shit. But you don't give a shit if you're going to make excuses literally for years and not come forward.